My guests today are excursion leaders of a new travel company that promises to offer unique experiences, blending classic sites with hidden gems. Galesburg natives Jennifer Zolper Peck and Kathryn Stoerzbach are founders of The Cultural Take. Whether they're leading you to Rio de Janeiro or Belize or Croatia or Portugal, they say with The Cultural Take, it's a vacation, not just a trip, and it's a transformative adventure. So Jennifer and Kathryn join me in WGIL studio today to talk about their new venture. Welcome to Galesburg In Focus.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm excited to tell your story. So just to let people know, the names sound kind of familiar. So yes, this is the same Jennifer Zolper who played basketball and led the Streaks to state back in the glory days.
Many moons ago.
Many moons ago.
Glory days for sure.
Glory days, that's
I was
right.
just telling her that over lunch today.
Okay. And of course, the Stoerzbach name is synonymous with law and other great things in Galesburg. So we have some special and talented guests with us today. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll take a deep dive into the company and what it's all about. But to start with, just kind of briefly describe the Cultural Take. How would you briefly describe it?
So as Jen and I came together, we both know that we're travelers at heart, and we thought it would be very important to bring forth something that we can expand, bring to community members, and lead them in a way that feels very intentional and cultivated. And so who we are as a company is a well-rounded, curated, educational travel company. And so there's many, many travel companies out there, though we have really taken the time to see what is of value when you go on a trip or an adventure or excursion. Sometimes when you go, it's simply to lie on the beach, which we all love to do, or maybe go to the poolside. But with who we are and what we want to build is all about curating an experience that is meaningful, that you would really take away something to integrate into your own home, your community, the people in which you interact with, and more than anything, having education as a basis of it before you go on the trip, during the trip, and after the trip.
Okay. Tell us a little bit how long you've known each other, the two of you, and how did you kind of get connected to come up with this?
Yeah. So we've got a great story. We've known each other for many, many years. We have a family connection with my husband, the Pecks and the Stoerzbachs. They have a very strong family relationship there. So because of that connection, we've been in each other's lives and friends for quite some time. Also, we're both Galesburg natives, so everybody knows everybody in Galesburg,
that's right.
and that's certainly a component of it. Kathryn, as her story has evolved from her time in Galesburg and then moving away and traveling the world, she's recently returned over the last few years, and as a result of that, her and I have really cultivated a deep connection and have recognized that the mutual love that we both have for travel and exploring this big beautiful world. So it's been over the last few years that connection has really cultivated, and just within the past several months, we've through a series of conversations landed on let's bring this to others. Let's bring this love that we both have for travel and exploring other cultures to others who may not otherwise do so. So the intent is to help share the love and passion that we have for exploring other cultures and travel with others. And perhaps those that will find interest in traveling with us are those that are also avid travelers and want to be a part of an experience in a community atmosphere. Perhaps others will be, which we're finding more and more, those that are raising their hands and expressing interest are those that have always had this interest and desire, but have not necessarily known how to go about pursuing it,
Right.
or feeling comfortable with traveling outside of the places that are a little bit more mainstream, and have an interest in going off the beaten path and exploring other areas that they probably would not do so. So those that are expressing interest are those that they want to go there, they have curiosity, but just don't know how to do that for them or for themselves. And so that's where we've been able to come in and build this really beautiful, curated, intimate experience for people who want to travel in a smaller group, want to have that container of safety and community around them, and also the opportunity to sit down with those that will be traveling to the other countries, the locals, so to speak, that live and work and have their life established in the countries that we're traveling to. That's really the element that we believe is unique for our company, is that we have local ambassadors where we'll be traveling to that we've connected with, we've cultivated relationships with them, and have really sought their input on how we build out our experiences. So to utilize Rio de Janeiro, which is where we'll be traveling to in October, we've been able to work with an individual particularly that will help create a very local, culturally immersed experience, and going to places that we otherwise would not know to travel to while we're in Rio. We're, of course, going to do all of the iconic things and go to all of the iconic locations, but there's also several other activities that are planned out within our itinerary where we're going to be able to share meals with people who live in Rio and get their perspective on life and how they approach the world, and really understand the history of Rio de Janeiro and what has all of the various cultures over the years that have influenced that particular city, and understand the history and the dynamics of what has gone into influencing the culture that Brazil has, but then more specifically Rio. So the intent of how we got connected and the intent of bringing this to the world has evolved over our time together, but it's really been a passion project for us to be able to offer this for those who may not be able to experience the world otherwise.
I thought it was kind of interesting that, your trips last, 7 or 8 days, but you kind of promised that, it's going to be a transformative 4-month journey that, spans the home, online, a foreign country, and then back when they get back, kind of describe that journey. It's not just the 7 or 8 days, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I would love to answer that. And with what Jen's saying, I think a key word is connectivity, and that connectivity first amongst her and I from childhood, and now the connectivity we want to bring with people coming together. And so the 4-month experience allows the participants who have signed up for Rio or Belize or Croatia to meet each other online, be facilitated within some great cultural immersion classes with education. So when they get there 2 months later, they've all already built a rapport amongst themselves, that they're able to have already a deeper connection. And then when we get there, it is a 7 to 8, 9-day trip, depending on where we go. And then post-trip, some cultural immersion takeaway. So we'll facilitate a couple more classes online for the group to stay connected. And again, as I mentioned before, to really integrate what they learned and what they want to take away from this culture.
So even if you don't know the people ahead of time, you kind of know them. You're not traveling with strangers, pretty much.
Right.
So.
That's an important element. We want everybody to get past those awkward moments before we land in the country of destination, and really start to identify similarities and likeness amongst the group, so that we're past that stage and we can have deeper, more meaningful conversations and connectivity.
Have you seen any other companies do anything close to this, or?
We've researched the heck out of this industry, and we have not landed on another organization or company that has this particular element in this package. So we think we're pretty unique in that regard.
Okay. This is Jay Redfern. I'm talking to Jennifer Zolper Peck and Kathryn Stoerzbach with the Cultural Take. So let's talk about your first trip. You kind of got into Rio a little bit, but October 13th through the 20th, you'll be leading your guests on an 8-day, 7-night adventure to Rio in Brazil. Is there any significance of starting with Rio?
You would think that there would be. However, when Jen and I were saying, well, we have to have our initiating trip, where do we want to go? It really was just thinking about a place in the world that neither of us have been, that we feel is very enriched with life and colors and flavors, and Rio came to mind. I've always wanted to go to Rio. She did too. So within about a 10-minute conversation, we had made the decision, and then started to seek networks and connections there to help us build the best curated trip possible.
Okay. Yeah. So give us some details. Jen, you kind of got into it a little bit, but where will you be staying? What will you be eating? What are activities?
Yeah.
What's going on and when you get to Rio?
Yeah. As part of our package, as part of our 4-month package, not only does it include the elements that Kathryn touched on regarding the pre-take and the post-take, where we'll be having virtual classes before we travel and then afterwards as well. The cost of the curated experience is inclusive of everything else with the exception of airfare. So you get yourself there, we take care of the rest. And so it's really an all-in-one stop shop for persons who want to utilize others for the planning purposes. So we take care of that. And I share that because I think that's an important element that it doesn't always come through clearly for folks as they're thinking about the value that's included within our packages. So everything is included. We'll be staying specifically within Rio. We'll be staying just a couple blocks off of the iconic Copacabana beach in a beautiful Centennial mansion. Lots of space for everybody. We'll also have an in-house chef who is a Brazilian trained chef that will be cooking the vast majority of our meals for us, preparing our meals. And that's a really important element because part of travel is the food and the experience of the food and what's different than what you typically would eat in your day-to-day life. So having a Brazilian trained chef that is preparing meals that are specific to that local region just further enhances the experience. Of course, we'll go out for a few evenings and experience the Rio nightlife and dine out. But the majority of our meals will be prepared by our in-house chef. We've got a full itinerary. It's almost to the point where we're like, we might need to scale back a bit.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton to do and it's an action-packed 7 days. So of course persons can opt out if they're not feeling up to the activity of the day or activities of the day. But we have the itinerary planned out. It's available high level on our website. And then once persons inquire more, we'll go really further into the details of what that day-to-day looks like. So just to name a few of the activities, we'll be going to the iconic Christ the Redeemer, which if any of you are familiar with the statue of Christ with the arms out that stands atop of the Corcona mountain, which is an iconic mountain in Brazil, right in the heart of Rio de Janeiro. So that will be an experience. There is a fantastic museum that is it's the National Library of Brazil, which will be traveling to that as well and experiencing that. There's an iconic cathedral that we're going to check out. So those are more the hiking day in the jungle. The way that Rio sits, it's right on the ocean, but then also mountain range and jungle is very accessible and close by within a quick 20-30 minute drive out of the city. So we'll spend a day doing that as well. And then the part that I'm most excited about is being able to integrate with the samba dancers and be able to experience more of the music and the zest that Rio is so known for. The local ambassador that we're connected with, he's promised a couple of experiences that are unique for us and for our group where, as you know, Carnival is a huge to-do in Rio in February. It's celebrated for the same reasons as we celebrate Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And it's quite a fantastic feat that happens every year. So in October when we go, they'll be right in the height of training and planning for Carnival. And so our local ambassador is connecting us and integrating us into some of the training and being able to observe them and watch them, the dancers and all that goes into that. We'll have a culinary cooking class within the home as well, sponsored by our chef. He'll be leading that. We'll have a samba dance troupe come to the house as well, and we'll have an in-house dance fest one evening. So there's a lot of really unique experiences that we're excited to be able to offer, and all of that infused with local persons. Being able to connect with the local ambassador and he bring in his family and friends, and the chef as well is going to bring in family and friends. So they'll be there to break bread with us and have conversations and just be a part of the experience that will be so enriching and will allow us to walk away feeling like we truly got to experience and feel and touch the culture that is
And
Rio
I think
de
I read or
Janeiro.
heard on one of your other interviews that you're going to actually host a party for the people to come in also.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the folks that we're connected with, they've got some family and friends that they're going to come as well, and it'll be a great time. It'll be a fun time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of explain the benefits of partnering with the Cultural Take, as opposed to maybe trying to plan a vacation on your own. What's the benefits of doing it through a group like this?
As Jen mentioned, aside from airfare, everything's taken care of, and that includes the airport ride from the airport to the villa or the location in which we're staying, and then a ride back. And so it allows those who have high decision-making jobs, they feel kind of maxed and taxed a lot during their life, they manage a lot, they have children at home, for them to actually say, okay, I'm going to sign up, I'll get my airfare and my visa, and then aside from that, from food to travel to excursions to all of the events, everything's paid for and everything's taken care of. And so it will act as a vacation for someone to step away and allow them to kind of get an expansion of view of their own life. But then they also can feel that they can let down because they're cared for and also things are planned, so they don't have to worry about the extra details or where are we supposed to go now? What are we doing here? And that they can truly hopefully take in the culture and the environment even on a deeper level because they know they're taken care of. And so many travel companies do this, but I love how that you brought up we have a 4-month package, and that's what really sets us apart. And so it's a commitment to sign up. It's dedication to learning about the culture yourself and really wanting to try something new and different.
Okay. You wouldn't be doing this if you weren't passionate, but where does your passion for travel, both of you, where does that passion come from? What feels so good about traveling?
Yeah. So I don't know about for yourself or for the listeners out there. For myself, whenever I'm getting close to the travel date of where I'm going to, that week before travel is the exciting part. It's like the anticipation of what we're going to go do and stepping out of the day-to-day grind and stepping out of the normalcy of all of our lives that we live, and having that experience that pushes you out of your boundaries, pushes you out of your box, and forces you to just have a different perspective. That's really the part that's so enticing for me. And whether it's traveling, even to another state within the U.S., having the ability to step outside of my normalcy is a part that just creates such a level of enthusiasm and motivation for life. It's kind of this deep sigh of like, yes, there's so much to see and do in this big, beautiful world. And every chance that I get to be able to step outside and go and experience just a different lens of life is really my passion and the reason for wanting to curate this for others as well.
Okay. How about you, Kathryn? Where's your passion for travel come from?
I remember I went to Jamaica when I was 18, and that sounds a bit out of place, but I remember thinking, oh, this is nice to go travel. And then later in that year, all of my family and I went to Italy to go visit my sister. And then within the following year, I had moved to Thailand through the university that I went to in St. Louis. And so all in a very short amount of time, I got to step outside of what I know as environment and my upbringing and got to see 3 different, very diverse cultures that really, I heard someone say this, like, it just lit me up. It just allowed a different part of myself to come forth of adventure and seeking and wanting to learn more. And then I lived 6 months in Thailand overseas, and then I ended up moving to Taiwan and China and traveled all Southeast Asia to Japan and Indonesia and Bali. And each place just made me more curious to keep learning of all the different ways to live in this world. But from food and culture, religion, the day in and day out was so vastly different than what I knew. It just really piqued my interest. And I know it's generic or common to say I got bit by the bug, but that's how I feel. I was 18, stepped into a different world, and I knew I just wanted to continue to traverse the world.
Okay. Have the two of you ever traveled together before?
We just took a fantastic trip together. So part of our evolution as we move into building out this company is we both have a desire to be able to operate and potentially independently captain sailboats in the future. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek because We just recently went to the British Virgin Islands together to take that first step in learning how to operate a sailboat and be able to achieve our certification for that license in the future. So it was a fantastic experience. We weren't there necessarily vacationing. We were there to learn a skill, but in the most beautiful place that you could ever learn how to sail. So that was certainly a gem and a treat to be had all in itself. So yes, we just had that experience where we traveled to the British Virgin Islands. We're on a sailboat together for a week, bouncing from island to island, learning the skill set of being able to operate and act as a captain for a sailboat. So that
was our first trip we ever did together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was just last month.
Yep. And so that's part of our company's evolution is in our future excursions, we'd like to be able to offer sailing activities as part of our expeditions that we package together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the response been like since you've announced that you're starting this company, and where do you expect your guests to come from? What kind of, local or all over the place? What do you expect?
We do have our eyes kind of on the global scene and setting that we believe and know that people will come from all walks of life through the nation and also other countries to come join us. We've had really genuine feedback and interest. Knowing that here in Galesburg, people really enjoy and love to support each other. We're both native and homegrown born here. So, but it seems very genuine and authentic when people come forward and want to know what we're doing. We already have some signups for Rio. People are discussing 2025 and where they would like to go and come with us. So I think it will start more locally, but then as we start to spread our reach through social media and podcasts and our website and different items, we will then have more of a global community too who come with us.
And I think that's really important. Our philosophy is immersing in different cultures, different walks of life, having an understanding and an appreciation for the huge array of different perspectives that is to be had. And so it's important to us to have a reach that's far greater than Galesburg, have a reach that's far greater than the areas that we've explored ourselves, and to be able to cultivate the persons who will be traveling with us an experience where not only are we going somewhere else and they're seeing the lens of life through the locals who live there, but they're also having conversations and traveling with others that might live in a different country or 5 states over, and just understanding their perspective on life is so enriching as well. So we are launching locally because we're local girls, but we very much are setting our sights on a broader reach.
Okay. This is Jay Redfern. I'm talking to Jennifer Zolper Peck and Kathryn Stoerzbach of The Cultural Take. So talk about how The Cultural Take promotes personal growth. You kind of talked about that a little bit, self-discovery and meaningful connections. That's a pretty important part of your venture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe, and I believe we believe together, that stepping outside of someone's comfort zone, really allowing them to be pushed in different challenges, whether that's travel, in a new community, allows for very natural personal evolution and growth, because you're up against new situations that you've never been in before. So you have to think differently, you have to problem solve. A lot of times traveling globally, things do not go as you so planned. And so it also cultivates patience and a deeper understanding of, okay, you're on island time, or you're stuck in the airport for 9 extra hours, and what it takes to kind of just sit there and accept and then move on to the next thing. And so I think travel naturally infuses this personal growth element without having to do much more than get outside of your comfort zone. But then as we hold these virtual educational classes, we will pose different thoughts and create different discussions in our forum to allow someone to say, what is my belief? What is my opinion here? How have I navigated and moved through this world? Now, through group and community of discussion, going to see a new place and coming back from something so different than what I've known, how does that break down my own barriers and beliefs? And so then that's almost a second tier of personal evolution that's really conscientious and intentional.
What's the ideal size of the group, and what are you kind of envisioning for how many people will be traveling?
Yeah. We want to keep it small and intimate. So we'll cap our groups at about 20. Going to Rio, there's 16 seats that are available. So we won't go higher than that. And that's intentional because we want the opportunity for it to feel small and intimate and community oriented and not like we're unloading a tour bus.
Yeah. So Jen, I think you've said that this is not a resort trip, and you both kind of said it earlier. What do you mean by it's not a resort trip?
So I think when I think about a resort, and I love a resort as much as the next person,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there is a feel and a flavor that you know you're walking into, and you have pretty much an expectation that things are going to be provided to you within an element that you're like, okay, this is available to me. It's pretty accessible, and I know what to expect when I walk into a resort, which is fantastic for all of the reasons that persons go to a resort. The high benefit of a resort is that things are pretty packaged and ready to go for you, and it is very much a one-stop shop in a lot of regards. So we bring that element of we're going to take care of everything, but also infused with culture, infused with going and experiencing different activities that you can't do at a resort unless you're willing to step outside of the resort and go explore. So it's the best of both worlds where we're going to package everything up for you. We're going to take care of the food. We're going to take care of the travel and lodging, but we're going to create activities that are so enriching and are adventurous and exploring the surrounding environment around where we're traveling to that you can't get if you're going to a destination and just staying in that one location.
Okay. So Rio this year, and then next spring, summer, and fall, you have trips. You're going to Belize, Croatia, and Portugal. How did you come up with those locations?
Again, very similar to what Kathryn touched on before. There's not a predetermined reason for those areas other than high interest of let's go explore, let's go check those out. I have some family connections to Belize. I've traveled to Croatia. Croatia is a fantastic country that has so much exploring and adventure to offer. So that was an element. And then Madeira, Spain is just an area that we are truly both excited to travel to. It's an unbeaten path area that not a lot of folks go to, or that we know of that go to. We're also trying to infuse Madeira, Spain with a side trip where we could potentially go and take a 2-3 day excursion to another location, which is to be determined. So a little teaser there.
Okay.
And
We're
but
gonna
Madeira,
tease it.
Portugal.
I'm sorry, thank
Which you
you.
had identified. It's Madeira, Portugal. So it's part of Portugal, but it's just off of the western tip
Thank
of
you.
Africa
Okay.
near Morocco. So
Yeah.
just so
very
we're
close
clarified.
to Spain. Yes.
There,
it is
we'll go to
Portugal.
Spain one day, but
Yeah. Yeah. So
How about other destinations? You don't want to look too far, but are there other ones that you haven't have scheduled that you kind of have in mind?
yeah.
we have. So I've been fortunate enough to live on the Hawaiian Islands for 6 years. I was based on Kauai with my private practice, and so I have a lot of community and network there. I go back often to visit. It feels like family. It feels like home in many, many ways. So in 2026, we'll do a special trip of only 8 participants, plus the 2 of us to Kauai for 1 week, and have it truly through the local lens, since we have some people who are coordinating with us. In 2026, I know a gentleman who was partially raised in Fiji, but born on Kauai. And so we're going to make a very exclusive 8-person trip, maybe even 6-person trip to Fiji. And he has connections to the village there and some really true off the beaten path. So we definitely know Fiji and Hawaii, and then we'll put a third one on 2026, but we haven't completely solidified what that decision is yet.
We've got some ideas.
We have some ideas, but by
Yeah.
2026, as our captain's license are building and we're being trained more and more, those trips will have some water element to them, whether it's a day on a catamaran, maybe it's 2 days of sailing. But because they are surrounded by water, Fiji and both the Hawaiian Islands, we will allow ourselves to also be on the water and bring that to the retreat excursion itself.
Okay. Tell us how we can follow the Cultural Take.
So we're on the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at the Cultural Take, and certainly we've got a website as well where all of the details regarding our different excursions are planned out. If Brazil seems too soon and more time is necessary for planning purposes, the details for 2025 excursions are on our website as well, so you can check those out at theculturaltake.com. There's a inquiry form that you can complete, and then that will initiate either myself or Kathryn to reach out and offer additional details regarding their particular area of interest.
Okay. So I always like to finish with a rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you something, and you kind of give me your
right.
first thought.
Let's
Okay.
go.
So what's the earliest family vacation that you can remember?
I can rapid fire back.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Zolper family took 2-week-long camping trips my entire childhood. And I'm so blessed to have traveled to all of the national parks and seen all of the U.S. as a result of those camping trips. So my most memorable, probably not earliest, but was when we went to Yellowstone. I was 8 or 9. It was right before the fires took place. And it was such a memorable experience that is still very much etched in my memory, and some of my favorite childhood memories is riding around in the back of the station wagon or the big blue van with all the camping gear.
For myself, it was probably around 5 years old. My mom and dad would love to put us in the car, drive us all the way down to Florida, and then we would get a house on the beach, and my dad would rent a little boat. And each day we would all pile on the boat. He would go to the market, get some frozen fish, and we would go out and find little, not private islands, but in islands that were not inhabited. And we would feed the dolphins along the way. Now I'm sure that's illegal, so we're not going to promote that to anyone, but I was very young then. And then we would go to a little secluded island, and mom and dad would make a little fire, and we would have food, and all day we would just play in the water, feed the seagulls. And growing up, we did a lot of water excursions ourselves. So I think that's probably the first memory.
What's the favorite country that you've visited?
For me, it's Croatia. Croatia is I was there just about 20 years ago, and so when I was there, it was still very much war torn, and the areas that I traveled to and stayed really resonated with me. I was able to speak with some just very authentic, beautiful people who experienced, who had lived in Croatia their whole life, so they had experienced much of the political influences that occurred through the time frame from Croatia to Serbia and the wars that occurred there. So that was my favorite, not only because of the beauty, but because of the connections and the insights that I gained by sitting down and speaking with persons who had lived their whole life there.
Okay. You've been to a lot, I think, over 20 countries?
Yeah, I've been over 20 countries. This is always an interesting question for me. I probably answered different on the last podcast. I'm going to probably throw out a different answer now. Possibly Thailand, getting over to Southeast Asia, getting my feet on the ground. It's called the land of smiles. People are very genuine and happy there, but they also are very generous. And to step into that culture for 6 months and really feel that their connection to spirituality, the temples, the way that they infuse almost rituals in their day-to-day life of giving gratitude to nature and really being immersed in the environment around them really was life-altering for me. And so right now I'm going to say Thailand.
Okay.
That's what's coming up.
Okay. Window or aisle seat?
Aisle.
Window.
Really? So you guys
we travel well.
Yeah, you'll hit it off on the
do
first
travel well.
How about, do you have a top travel tip for somebody, maybe that people don't think about?
One that comes from me, I'm in holistic health, is preparation and recovery. So whether we take a trip or we have a really big work day or that we want to prepare and recover. And so I think not only intellectually, mentally, and emotionally to prepare for the trip, but allowing yourself to get some rejuvenation and rest before you step into a whole new excursion. And then post-trip, allowing some time so it's not such a stark contrast. something that comes to mind for me.
Okay.
My travel tip is perspective. And I share that because so often we react to a situation where our flight is delayed or something happens that is not planned for, and we have a reaction of this is horrible, this is just throwing my entire plans off. And if we sit back and reflect on those situations that occur, that have probably occurred to everyone in some capacity and will continue to occur to us as we travel, and think that in just a short 8-hour time frame, I'm in a completely different place of the world. And if there's a little bit of a delay for me to get there where I have some time to sit back, reflect, people watch, whatever it might be, it's all part of the experience. And it's all part of the ability to just roll with the punches and just experience life in whatever way it's coming at you in that moment, and know that it's all for a reason, and that it is, at the end of the day, not going to derail things to a point where you can't recover and say, no big deal. We're just going to move on and roll with it and be okay. So mine is just perspective on the bigger picture of missing a flight, not the end of the world, which we experienced on our way back. And it was like, this is okay.
We'll finish with one last one. How about, we'll go local. How about all-time favorite Galesburg restaurant, past or present?
Ooh, you go first.
I love the Landmark. I love the chicken pot pies. I love the bread. My sister used to work there when we were teenagers. We used to scoop ice cream for the summer, street festivals. It's very much comfort food to me. And when I come home, I always want at least one Landmark trip.
Okay.
I might have to take a pass on this. I don't know that I can come up with one that is iconic for me or symbolic for me. Actually, I'm gonna take back my words. So the family table back in the day, if anybody remembers the family table, the Zolpers, there were 6 kids, 8 of us all together. We didn't go out to eat much back in that day. You didn't go out to eat very much, but
and that's where Happy Joe's is now.
That is where yes, exactly. Yeah. So the family table was it was the spot that when we had the treat of getting to go out to eat, that's where we went. And so when I think about Galesburg and just my childhood memories, that's one that resonates with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's Galesburg's Jennifer Zolper Peck and Kathryn Stoerzbach, excursion leaders. That's a cool term. I don't know how you came up with that, but I like that term. And founders of the unique travel company called The Cultural Take. I want to wish you the best of luck on your venture, and thank you for joining us on Galesburg In Focus.
Thank you.